Let's get started with our webinar, Customizing Vision with Soft Lenses, from Sports to the Challenging Patients. Our speakers today are Marc Andre. Marc is an associate professor of optometry at the Pacific University College of Optometry in Forest Grove, Oregon. Previously, he was the director of the contact lens service at Casey Eye Institute on the campus of Oregon Health Sciences University in Portland, Oregon. Mr. Craig Norman was a clinician for over 40 years and has been involved in the development and evaluation of numerous products and technologies in the soft, gas perm, and scleral lens categories. Recently, he was the founder of the research at Michigan College of Optometry, Ferris State University, where he remains an adjunct faculty. Both Marc and Craig were recently awarded the American Optometric Association Achievement Award, recognized for outstanding contributions for the optometric profession in the area of contact lenses. And without further ado, let's get started.
I want to, first of all, good evening, everybody. I want to thank Dee Dee and ABB Optical Group for allowing us to present our product on this webinar, and more importantly, for distributing our product. Without ABB's distribution, obviously I'd be sending these out of my basement, and it sure is nice to have the ABB support team behind us. They've been doing a wonderful job for us. I thought I'd start by introducing our company. Most of you are probably not familiar with it because it's fairly new. It's called Performance Vision Technologies Incorporated, or for short, PVTI. The founders and officers are listed here. Dr. Alan Reichow, who was a longtime professor at Pacific University and worked with Nike and B&L to bring Nike Maxite to the industry, and has been a very big part, the biggest part of bringing Altius to the practitioners. Myself, also from Pacific University, Dr. Carl Sitek, who's worked on our light technology, professor at Pacific University, Dr. Fraser Horn, the dean at Pacific University. My son, Brett Andre, who did the regulatory work for us and is a graduate of the Vision Science program at Pacific, and Dr. Richard Wu, who is a practitioner and owner of Brighton Optics in Taiwan, and is also working on his PhD at Pacific University. So as you can see, Pacific University is very much involved in in the background of this. A lot of us have an association or had an association with Pacific. So definitely want to shout out to them and give them a big thanks. So I thought it'd start by, kind of going into why the name Altius is really interesting, trying to come up with a name. We had a list that, probably at one time was in the hundreds, and had to kind of cross them off and talk to lawyers and what's going to work and what's not going to work. And Altius kind of came to the top, and it comes from the Olympic motto, Citius Altius Fortius, which is Latin for faster, higher, stronger. The motto was introduced in 1924 at the Olympic Games in Paris, and in 1921 was kind of reintroduced, and they added a word to it, together. So it's still a motto being used by the Olympics. We looked at Altius as a performance tinted soft contact lens that is designed to take the wearer's performance to a higher level. And that's where the term, Altius came in, and we felt like it was a kind of a strong name for this product. So it's the little background on why the name Altius. I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of look at the evolution of performance tinted contact lenses to kind of see where this is at and where we've been. And Alan goes back, Dr. Reichow goes back even to the sports side days of Paragon Vision Sciences. Dr. Sitek and Dr. Reichow were both very much involved in bringing that GP lens to the marketplace. And I think even Craig had a hand in working with Paragon. I know Pat Caroline did at the time, and they were really kind of the pioneers in bringing sports vision lenses, to the forefront. That evolved into, eventually becoming, I'll get into that, the Nike Maxite. Along the way, there was a product called ProSoft, which I honestly never worked with. In all my clinical years, I honestly forgot about the ProSoft lens, but it was a combination of Bollé, which is a sunglass manufacturer, and Wesley Jessen, which eventually became WJ, which became Ciba, which is now Elcon, that put out this particular lens, which kind of yellow tinted lens that was more for tennis. It was kind of designated for tennis and sports like that. The Nike Maxite, a number of you are probably very familiar with it, a combination of Nike and Bausch and Lomb. And again, Dr. Reichow and his team at, when they were working on the sports site at Pacific, introduced this product to Nike, and the combination of Nike and Bausch and Lomb brought the lens to the marketplace as a 6-pack intended for 30-day use. There's a lot that goes into the story of why this lens isn't available, but the short version is the lens was packaged in Renew with Moisture Lock. And those of you that have been around the industry for a while probably remember what happened with Renew with Moisture Lock. The manufacturing facility had a contamination issue, and fusarium was kind of baked into the solution, and consequently the product was recalled, and Nike decided to pull the plug on it. So it wasn't that the lens was not performing up to what they were hoping it would. It was that they didn't want their elite athletes having a serious eye infection from wearing a lens that was contaminated. Personally, as a reusable product, I never felt like it was best suited as a sports performance lens. I always pictured someone playing either tennis or golf, taking their lenses off with their hands fairly dirty and putting it in their case, and then a month later going back and realizing that their lenses were still in their gym bag and going, "Oh, good, I have my lenses in here. I'm gonna pop them on and wear them for my game today." I think in the long run, having a reusable product that's used on a very part-time basis maybe wasn't the greatest idea. And probably the reason that this lens has taken this long to come back to the marketplace is when we decided that we wanted to do this, we wanted to make sure that we could do it with a single-use disposable product, that the lens could be thrown away after each use. So it literally is a very part-time. We look at most wearers will probably be wearing this lens 4 to 6 hours and then disposing of it. So here's where we're at in 2022. Altius comes in 10 packs, 30 packs, and 90 packs. It is a single-use disposable lens, comes in 2 tints. And let me just kind of get into a little bit of what is really unique about sports and performance tinted lenses. If you haven't experienced it, I highly encourage you, to get a box of these lenses from ABB Optical Group and try the lens for yourself, and try it on your staff and your front desk personnel, because it's just such a unique experience being immersed into this new world, basically a world you've never experienced. There's no light leakage like there would be around sunglasses. And being in this new, world that you're creating, it just literally is made to mitigate visual noise. And the goal is to give the athlete the option to perform with their maximum comfort, clarity, and quickness. So it's really fun listening to the stories of people that have tried this lens and get back to me. I'm the person, when you go to our website, altiusvision.com, if you were to leave a question, I get to see the questions and the comments that are left behind. And I've certainly had an opportunity to fit this on hundreds of patients now. It's such a unique experience that you have to try it to really appreciate, the value that it brings to you. The lenses right now are available in 2 tints. We have the Altius Gray Green and the Altius Amber. And the plans are to have, we've got a couple of tints that are in development right now. So if all things go well, we should be introducing some new tints down the road, and also expanding the parameter range as we move along. So let's talk a little bit about the specifications. As I mentioned, it's a single-use soft contact lens. It's made out of the material Ocufilicon D, which is an excellent performing hydrogel material, 55% water content. I'm going to try to bring some clarity to some of the questions that come up when I'm, either talking to practitioners or answering them on the internet. A lot of people say, why not a SiHy? And for those of you that have ever tinted a soft contact lens, you know that there are very few materials out there that'll actually accept the dye. So Ocufilicon D is one of the best. SiHy lenses are very, very difficult to tint and have a uniform color throughout the lens. I'm not saying it'll never happen. There may be a day where we have a SiHy sports or tinted performance lens, but for now, the hydrogel material is by far superior when it comes to tinting properties. The base curve is 8.7. The diameter is 14.2. We went to great lengths to make sure that this lens fit an overwhelming majority of the patients, knowing that we only had one base curve and one diameter. I did a lot of testing on lenses and settled in at a lens that at 20 degrees Celsius had a sagittal height of around 3,980 microns. That compares to the 8.5 Oasis One Day, which is 3789, the My Day lens, which is 3892, and the Dailies Total One, which is 3916. For those of you that fit those lenses, and I'm sure most of you do, they're very comfortable lenses right out of the flat pack. We knew this was going to be going on a lot of emmetropes, a lot of athletes that have never worn a contact lens, and we knew it had to be comfortable for them to want to keep it on long enough to even see what the value is of wearing the lens. So we intentionally went with a lens that we knew would be very comfortable on initial application. And in doing some further testing at eye temperature at 35 degrees, the lens actually reduces slightly, about 150 microns in sagittal height, which was really refreshing to see, because the last thing I wanted this lens to do was tighten up on the patient and have it difficult to remove. So it's kind of by accident performs even better than what I was hoping it would. The powers for right now is plano and -0.5 to -6 in quarter diopter steps. When Nike had this lens, the number one selling power was plano. And in the early sales of Ultius, we are finding the same thing, that the plano lens is by far the majority of patients that are purchasing this lens, and doctors that are trying the lens on their patients. The center thickness is 0.1 millimeters, which is slightly thicker than the minimum. And that was done intentionally to make the lens easy to handle. Again, going back to the fact that this is probably going to be going on a lot of professional college and high school athletes, a lot of whom have never worn lenses. We wanted to make the lens as easy to handle as possible. So we're looking for a very easy to handle lens that was very comfortable on an initial application and stayed comfortable throughout the wearing time. And from all reports, I feel like we've accomplished that. And I'd love to hear your feedback from those of you that have tried it or do try it. So that's where we're at. Now, I'm going to get into probably the most commonly asked question, and that is, what color lens do I use for what sports? Well, the amber lens was engineered for dynamic reactive sports, usually where there's a ball or an object moving quickly. Baseball, softball, soccer, tennis. My son played tennis using them and said the tennis ball was the easiest it's ever been to see. For those of you that play tennis, I'd highly recommend you try a pair of amber lenses and go out and test it on the tennis court. Football, all three of my boys played lacrosse. I've never seen a lacrosse player wearing sunglasses. It's played in the spring. The sun setting is just brutal on the goalie and the players, attacking the goal. I see lacrosse as a potential really big sport for this product. Now you're probably saying, I would have thought the gray-green lens would work best, for someone playing lacrosse. And what we're finding, and not unusual, is that there are sports where there are certain environments where the gray-green lens works better than the amber lens, or I should say, the athlete prefers it over the amber lens. So there are a number of sports that kind of carry over where two tints, may be necessary to really take advantage of the lighting conditions on different days, on hazy days versus sunny days, on days where the sun is going to be setting while they're playing, that type of thing. To continue on, volleyball, archery, rugby, hunting, sporting clays. I didn't know this when we got started, but in doing a search on sporting clays, it's the fastest growing high school sport in Oregon. So I would have never guessed that in a million years, but sporting clays is becoming a big high school sport. And snow sports, finally, to wrap it up, both snowboarding, skiing, and anything that's played on the sport. So we've identified these sports as being ideal lenses to put the Altius amber color on. I do want to also share with you that the lens is UV blocking and also full blue blocking, and that with the amber lens, we have 50% visible light transmission. And now on to the gray-green. Now, probably the biggest sport and the most comments I'm seeing and hearing from both doctors and patients is that surfing it's been a wonderful product for the surfing community. The gray-green lens is engineered for open air sports and recreational activities on water and on land, and in a wide range of outdoor lighting conditions. And primarily, the first time I wore the lens, I was down visiting one of my sons in Carlsbad, California, and I put him on and went to the beach to watch about an hour before sunset. And the surfers were looking back into the sun to catch a wave. And it was just brutally bright. I mean, the water glare was incredible. And when I put the lenses on, it just completely cleaned that up. So I know one of the first surfers I was fit with this lens, referred half a dozen of her friends into the doctor that fit her, saying, this is such a game changer for what we do. Other sports that we recommend this for, and probably the one that Nike was most excited about when they had the Max sight, was golfing. I know Tiger Woods tried the lenses, Michelle Wie and other premium athletes, but golfing was a sport that Nike was very excited about, as well as we are. I recently had one of our third-year optometry students tell me he shot the best game he's had of golf wearing the lenses over this last holiday weekend. It was really great to hear that not only did he enjoy wearing them, but it was one of the best games of golf that he's played. So I'm not guaranteeing that's going to be the case for everybody. I know for me, it's going to be easier to find the ball in the rough. Craig knows that from having played golf with me a lot of times, but it's definitely a sport that it's intended for. One of the ones that really shocked us was the water polo. We had one of the women's U.S. team water polo players wear it and posted on social media with her gold medals that it was a game changer for her. And I know a number of water polo people have reached out to me. Honestly, Dr. Ika and I didn't even have it on our radar as a sport that would be, really a first line sport for this lens. But I asked Dr. Ika what his experience has been in fitting some of these players. And he said that about half of them went with the gray green and about half of them liked the amber. So again, it's not a hard line. This is what's going to work for this sport. In a lot of cases, you're probably going to be dispensing both tints to an athlete and having them tell you which one they prefer. Some of the other sports, kayaking, fly fishing, hiking, running. The first time I was out with my wife wearing the lenses, one of her friends came up to us, and the first thing she said is, "What are you wearing? What are those?" And my wife explained, my husband's working with this lens, kind of a sunglass for contact lenses. And she goes, "I want those." I know she's a marathon runner, or was in the past. And she said, I mean, that would be a dream to be able to run without having to wear glasses or sunglasses. Cycling, equestrian, water skiing, sailing, boating, skateboarding, and of course the triathletes. So with the gray green, we still have the UV blocking, the blue blocking, And this lens has 38% visible light transmission. So it does block more light than the amber lens does. That's what differentiates these two products. And it's very obvious when you look at the lenses, the difference between them. Now, I would encourage all of you to go to our website and kind of play around with this interaction of you see the Altius Amber and Altius Gray Green screens, and you see the video moving across, kind of showing you what it looks like to kind of give you a simulation of what it's like with the lens on and without the lens. So if whether it be your patient or you or your staff go to the website, there's some interactive things like this that you can play with to kind of give you, some ideas of what to expect. And again, the amber lens kind of engineered for sports where there's a moving object. Baseball players say they see the spin on the ball faster, can pick up the rotation. And then, of course, we don't want to forget that there are just recreational athletes. This isn't a lens just for, premium athletes. People that just want to go for a hike or go for a walk or go for a jog. The gray green lens acts very much like a sunglass lens for those activities. We also offer some collateral, with our product, and especially for those that are kind of our premium performance center doctors. We do have digital media and some collateral that's available. So I just wanted to share with you that is available, and hopefully we'll be developing more of that as we go along. And I want to talk a little bit about what this will bring to your practice. Again, just listening to the comments we're getting and talking to the doctors that have this product already, them taking it to the local high school team, the colleges, several professional sports teams, baseball, football, and soccer, have had doctors bring their fitting set and try the lenses on athletes. And the excitement that comes when fitting a large group of people is kind of overwhelming. It's really a lot of fun. I know Dr. Reichow and his team and Dr. Horn had an opportunity in the past with MaxSight to attend a lot of training camps and sporting events and fit, literally in dozens, if not hundreds of patients in a setting and have them all kind of experience the lens simultaneously. One of our doctors told us that he took it to the local high school and got 6 referrals out of it. 6 of the players came in for eye exams and were fitted. So, I threw the words limited availability up there to kind of share with you that this is not your typical product. This is not, one of the big 4 soft lens products where everybody gets a diagnostic fitting set. If you decide to become an Altius provider, you're going to have access to this product that not a lot of practitioners do. Not because it's not available to them. It's because they've chosen, we're not giving away free diagnostic lenses. If we were, I'm pretty sure just about everybody would want one. We don't have the luxury of being able to manufacture enough lenses and provide free lenses to everyone. So you do have some skin in the game when you purchase a performance fitting center. The emmetropes are very interested in wearing these lenses, and what we've found is that doctors are saying they're seeing patients they probably wouldn't have seen for 5, 10, or 20 years. Patients that don't have a need for a prescription and probably wouldn't come in for an eye exam until they do have a need for one. So there's an opportunity certainly to expand your practice, not only to your patients, but to other members of their family that don't need to wear glasses and that they'll maybe be interested in this product. Our practice locator on altiusvision.com is set up with 2 categories. The Altius Premier Practice Centers, which has their website linked to the locator page. So when a patient finds a practice in South Bend, Indiana, and clicks on it, it'll direct them to your practice, directly to your website. If you're a premium practice center, to become one, you simply have to purchase a diagnostic fitting set. All of our products are packaged in lenses and lenses that are for sale. There are no free trials. None of the packaging says free trials not for sale. We don't offer free trial lenses. So It's a situation where, again, we won't be handing these out to other practitioners to give away to patients. The Altius providers are also on our website. Their website is not linked, and they do not have access to our digital marketing, but they are simply made a provider when they make a purchase of our products from ABB Optical Group. So if you're already an account of ABB and you buy simply even a box of a 10-pack of lenses, they will give us the information that you now have the lenses, and we will add you to our provider list, and your practice name and city will be on our locator map. So as patients go to look for the lens and they look on our website, they'll hopefully reach out to you. Now, probably one of the most exciting emails I got from our website came on Monday of this week. And the person that asked the question said, I live in Southern California. I'm a practitioner. I've had several patients come in asking for Altius, and I'm trying to find out how I get it. And, I mean, that was like music to my ears to hear that patients are actually going into their practitioner and looking for this lens. So our social media is working. We're not going to be able to afford to do a Super Bowl ad anytime soon. So we are relying on social media to kind of spread the word. And again, ABB Optical Group allowing us to do a webinar like this to share the excitement that we have got a product like this, very unique product for your practice. And as I mentioned, the lenses are available in 10, 30, and 90 packs. There is a price break on the 90 pack. So as I mentioned, social media has been a big part of Altius and getting the word out there. We encourage you to get on social media if you're a provider, and do as much sharing of pictures of patients that allow you to, or athletes that give you the permission to do that. Some of these are from Amanda Nanis. You can see the one. Thank you, Amanda, for keeping us updated in the newest technology in sports vision with performance tinted lenses. You can see it's UCF sports. Amanda's been Dr. Nanis has been very, very active in working with the local sports teams in her area. And we see that opportunity available for everyone and anyone that wants it. So you can see the hashtags that we'd like you to use if you are involved in social media. We've been able to catch a number of professional athletes wearing the lens. One of the doctors that we work with sent me a link from a broadcast where the broadcasters were talking about the California Angels player that was wearing their contact lenses that evening, and he's got those lenses on again this evening. So it's really exciting to see, a product that we came up with, on a national broadcast. It's really kind of fun. But we do have some digital media that we share with our preferred providers, and you can see the video shorts that are available to put on your website and share with your patients. Now, the QR codes are on our box. Our 10 packs have the QR code. If you were to scan this QR code, and I encourage you to do that now, it'll take you directly to our website. Our website is very mobile phone friendly. When we developed the website, that was a high priority for us because we know how many of your patients are going to be looking at this product on their mobile phone. Our collateral has the QR code on the back. So, if you are one of our providers, you can access our collateral, and we are going to be coming out with more in-office type things that allow you to kind of share the message. So pretty exciting. I hope you can tell that, our team is very excited to be able to offer this to all of you. We, from the day Nike Maxite went away, we're always talking about the possibility of bringing this back as a single-use product. And over the course of time, over COVID, basically, we had the time to really work on it and get the product FDA approved, get our names trademarked, and we're very excited to bring this product to you, and we hope that you take advantage of it and use it in your practice. So, Craig? turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mark. That was terrific. And if there's any questions, we'll have a chance to be able to answer them as we proceed throughout the evening. Really appreciate the opportunity to be able to discuss with you custom soft contact lenses this evening, and to introduce, prior to Jonathan Meadis coming on after me, introducing the Concise Custom Soft Lens that is had recently been relaunched. We know that in our fitting toolbox for managing patients, we need all different kinds of lenses. They're all listed there in front of you, as you can see. And in particular, though, in soft contact lenses, we know that of the soft contact lens patients, that approximately around 80 to 85% of those patients are wearing a what we will call a commercial brand or a commodity brand. And the others either should be or are in something other than fixed parameter lenses. And that's really what we want to talk about this evening. This category is called custom soft lens designs. And what I want to run through with you is what the indications are for these particular lenses, what the fitting methods are, and something that Mark already mentioned a little bit, and that is sagittal depth. For those of you that are scleral lens fitters and ortho-K fitters, you're familiar with the concepts of lowering and hiring a lens through changes in the sagittal height. And in soft contact lenses, it plays a significant role, as Mark demonstrated already. And we're going to talk really quite a bit about that this evening as well. So of all the indications for custom soft lens, I think the easiest answer is when a standard commodity lens, which has been designed for the average patient, doesn't work or can't work. It's not large enough, it's not steep enough, it's not flat enough, it doesn't come in enough cylinder, it doesn't come in other lens materials. You know that in commodity soft lenses, the lens material and the design are typically married together, and you can't really alter those, you have to switch brands. But in the custom soft lens field, we have the ability to just about manage any type of refractive and some ocular conditions with a soft contact lens that ends up being either larger or smaller or thicker or high sill or unusual prismatic effects to be able to manage these particular patient categories. I mentioned the materials a little bit, and it really is a key within custom soft lenses that although there are two bold categories in lens materials, one being the hydrogel materials or HEMA, and the other the Sci-Hi materials, and they both really have their place within the custom soft lens arena. In the HEMA category or soft lenses, a company such as ABB Optical offers 3 or 4 different materials in this particular category. They vary in different water contents and ultimately their DK, and are designed to be able to work in patient cases in particular where the patients need a wetter lens that can stay wet on the eye longer. In the Sci-Hi arena, the primary lens material that is being used is the Contimac Definitive. This material is the workhorse in the lathe cut material categories for custom soft lenses. And custom soft lenses are, at least today, they are typically lathe cut. And so what does that mean for those of you that don't know manufacturing? That a soft contact lens can either be molded from a liquid, as an example, or it can start off with a rigid piece of plastic and be cut just like a rigid lens on a highly sophisticated CNC lathe. After that lens is cut, then it hydrates, and as it hydrates, it comes into its finished parameters. What the latheable characteristics allow one to do is to be able to manufacture a lens with just about limitless parameters. It's not fixed like a mold would be. You can actually make the lenses much larger, much smaller, thicker, different zone sizes, all of those things that cannot happen with the commoditized lenses. So what are the parameters that we look at in custom soft lenses? Well, there's many of them. And I'm going to primarily talk about lens diameter and base curve this evening. But all of these different parameters can be altered in a custom soft lens, such as the concise custom design that is being discussed this evening. Now, the diameter part is primarily based on the philosophy that corneas are not all the same size. And in particular, they don't have the same HVID. And that difference in size means that a one-size-fits-all commodity style lens, for many cases, is going to be either too large or it's going to be, in more cases, too small for those eyes. So it's really important for us to understand more about the corneal diameter, which can be measured in a number of different ways, from an HVID ruler, can be measured also, of course, on the topographer. If one wants, it could be measured with other instrumentation as well. But the more accurate we can get an idea of the visible iris diameter, the better we can choose an actual diameter for the lens. But don't go away thinking that you have to measure this to like tenths of millimeters, because most custom soft lenses start out in a range anyways of a base curve and diameter range that we know from experience will fit the majority of lenses or majority of eyes that have certain parameters. In other cases, this is a really good tip that we might need an extra large lens or small lens. Now, there's been work that has been done looking at HVID and DVID, which is diagonal visible iris diameter. We did some at Michigan College of Optometry. Mark's group did a bigger study even at Pacific University. And although our numbers don't match up exactly to theirs, they're in the same ballpark, which basically tells us that somewhere between 25 and maybe 35% of patients have corneas that are larger or smaller than average. And what that tells us is it tells us that automatically, 25% to 33% or so of patients may not have a correct fitting lens strictly on the overall diameter. And here's where, if by one changing that diameter, we can come up with a better customized fit for the eye. We know that in soft lenses, the diameter selection is based on a formula that will result in the lens having a drape 360 degrees around the cornea that is between 1 and 2 millimeters. This means that it's not bumping in at all into the limbal area, and it has enough coverage that it will stay into position nicely during the wearing time. Now, the philosophy that I use, at least for fitting custom soft lenses, is think in terms of building the lens from the outside in. And that is, we start off looking at the HVID. We would add somewhere between 2 to 3 millimeters. So if we had a 12 millimeter HVID, let's say we would add 2.5 millimeters to that. And our initial lens would have a diameter of 14.5 millimeters. This is relatively standard in our field, that the lens diameters are between 14 and 14.8 or 9 or 15 that will cover most of the eyes with custom lenses. Now, regarding the corneal diameter, it plays a significant role in the overall sagittal height of the eye. I'm not going to go in this evening on how to select the initial concise custom soft lens based on sagittal height alone of the eye, but we're going to really deal with more what about the sagittal height of the lens, so that you don't have to take extra measurements or put on more calculations in your mind. But knowing that there is the option to also calculate the corneal diameter along with looking at how it contributes to the overall sagittal height of the eye in determining what that lens should be. Also wanted to mention just pupil sizes, that we're not going to talk a lot about multifocals tonight, but there really is an important role that the patient's pupil size plays, not so much in spherical and toric lenses, but in multifocal lens arena, in that you'd want to be able to better customize the zone size, whether it's a center near or center distance zone size for a multifocal patient, by being able to control that zone size, which doesn't typically happen for us in most of the commodity type soft contact lenses. Now, building on that sagittal height idea, that sagittal height in soft contact lenses has become a pretty hot topic over the last couple of years. There's been work by Vanderwerp and others that, along with some people that are associated with Mark at Pacific, that have looked at this. There also have been studies that have been done at Berkeley, studies also that have been done in Europe as well, that are really making a push on for all of us to better understand the fitting of soft lenses, is that maybe we should be looking at sagittal height rather than base curve and just diameter. And I think that that's the gist of it. And there are experts in the field that just recently have been addressing this as well. Stephanie Ramdas looking at sagittal height by looking at the difference from one lens design to another, or one combination of lens parameters to another. And that Jason Jedlicka addressed the same issue, talking about custom soft lenses coming to the rescue. Now, in sagittal height, that the mathematics that tell us what the sagittal height factors are within the lens design are primarily made up of the diameter and the base curve. And in fact, this is around 95% of the overall impact on sagittal height of the lens to the eye. Modulus, that is the ability for a lens to bend, does play a role, but not as much as one would think. And then the design plays an issue also. Is it spherical? Is it aspherical? Is it a lens that has an optic zone, small optic zone, or is it one that has more of a monocurve? All of those kinds of things can play a role in sagittal height as well. What we know about the impact of sagittal height on the eye is that if we take the same radius of curvature and increase or decrease the diameters, we are going to impact the vault of the lens. With the larger the lens diameter, the greater the vault. Or if you take the same diameter lens, and let's say that these are all 14.5 millimeters, and if you change the base curve, that will impact the sagittal height as well. And so those are the important categories for us to be able to look at. What most important, though, is what happens on the eye. And what you see here in front of you is one eye that we have one diameter, 14.5 millimeters, and we have 4 different lenses on the eye. And look how noticeably different you can see the fitting relationships, from a quite steep fitting relationship to a much flatter relationship, where we're seeing a significant amount of blinking, not only with the blink cycle, but also during the push-up test as well. One of the things that I like showing these images is for, in the world of custom soft lens designs, it is typical, and again to say that it is typical to see clearly lens movement that is occurring during the blink cycle. This is something we rarely see when we are looking at commodity style soft contact lenses, because they tend to fit so much snugger and they are so thin as well on the eye. We've been looking at this for quite a period of time under a paper that we worked with the people from Optimec from the UK to look at these different kinds of parameters. And in fact, we just recently completed an evaluation of this as well, looking at the Concise Custom lens, utilizing the same design parameters that these other tests have been done. The Optimec instrumentation actually looks at a slice, an OCT-like slice of a lens, and can calculate that even though you have, in this case, these both have the same base curve, but they have 2 different diameters, and ultimately they have 2 significantly different sagittal heights as well. So pretty cool stuff relative to that. Mark's team at Pacific looked at these, as he quoted a little bit earlier in the Altius presentation, regarding single-use daily disposables among other soft lenses. And these are pretty interesting pieces of information that you can look at a lens that is 8.5 from one manufacturer at a 14.2 and 8.5, 14.1 from another manufacturer, and have well over our 200 or more microns of difference in their fitting characteristics by sagittal height, which definitely plays a role if you're trying to switch from one brand to another to improve your fitting characteristics. So as part of the relaunch of the Concise Custom, one of the things that was done was to look at all of the potential sagittal heights that would occur in the typical lens parameters that the orders were being placed through Didi Reyes's team, the consultation team at Concise, and then break them down into what is the meat of the lenses that are actually ordered. And they are typically 14.0 between 14.0 and 15 millimeters. The base curve is between 8.3 and 8.9. This is the bulk of the lens fits. But this chart is so important because it tells us when we want to change a lens parameter from one particular sagittal height to another, what direction we need to go by either changing base curve and or lens diameter to be able to achieve that. So how do we go about using this information to be able to fit lenses today? Well, we need to know corneal shape. We need to know corneal size. We need to know the spectacle RX. We need to choose a material. And then, as I mentioned, for multifocals, we also need to be able to look at pupil size as playing a role to do that. So in practice, and in particular, with our discussion this evening about the Concise Custom lens, the way that this can be done is to either look at the fitting guide from Concise and follow those lens parameters of choosing the first base curve and diameter and calling that lens order in. B, or another alternative, is the soft lens design calculator that Concise came up with. This is the initial calculator. There's a second version that is being worked upon as we speak. And this will help you by just entering in some information to come up with the initial design. Or, as many of you that are already ordering these products from Concise, from ABB Optical and ordering the Concise Custom, you may be going directly to a specialty lens consultant to determine that. And that's where this calculator really comes into play. This is what I would call a first fit calculator. It's to design based on the parameters that we've looked at as far as K readings, HVID, spectacle RX, lens material, and coming up then with the initial lens design for a patient. It also calculates what the sag height is for that particular design as well. The key to this element, and I think one of the brilliance of this coming to the market with the relaunch of this product, is that if you or I were to design this product in our office with these parameters, or if we were to call it into the Concise Custom consultants, that the first lens would always be calculated the same. And why that is important is that it means that once that initial lens is designed exactly the same every time, as changes come into the consultation team, it allows through artificial intelligence to be able to look at all that information and possibly change the fitting scheme, alter the calculator, really make changes that can continue to build about customizing this lens in the future. So the lens diameter selection is typically 11.3 to 12 millimeters. For the normal size, it's 14.5. This would be the lens we would point to in most cases. The base curve is selected on the lens diameter and average K. We know how to determine the power, and then I mentioned the calculator as well. The evaluation process on eye, straightforward, movement, position, vision, and if we have to get a clearer look, go ahead and look at the patient's push-up test as well. Here, John Gellis was nice enough to allow me to be able to show these images tonight. This demonstrates how it's kind of difficult at times to see how well a soft lens is moving on the eye. And 3 years ago, John turned me on to this concept of dyeing a soft lens for teaching purposes with lissamine green. And these are lissamine green tinted lenses. These are not lenses that are available from ABB Optical, but it shows you how much movement that there can actually be within soft lenses if the right base curve and diameter combination has not been chosen. So parameter changes, any parameter change can really be made. One of the things I want to point out tonight, though, is when you're talking about making changes in a soft contact lens, you want to make base curve changes in 250 to 300 or so microns. You want to make diameter changes not in 1/10 of a millimeter, although that can happen. You want to make that in larger increments because 1/10 of a millimeter is not enough to really impact bisagittal height, as that previous chart said. And then the same thing as far as for torics in 1 degree increments if possible, but how or why would we really want to do that in that small of an increment as well? Cleaning up here, I just wanted to mention that there are also custom soft lenses for the irregular cornea that are available. These are not that new to us in the field. And as a matter of fact, all the way back in 1971, it was described as a potential for us in the in the keratoconus field. We know that there are different types of irregular corneas, and these soft lenses for irregular cornea can look a couple of different ways. They can drape over the eye, or they can form a tear layer under the eye. And we're going to have a presentation or information on that in much more detail separately. So why would we consider soft lenses? And especially, I guess you'd ask it, why would we consider soft lens for keratoconus in the day of scleral lenses? But the reason is comfort and ease of handling for the patient. That makes a really big deal for some patients with irregular cornea using a larger, rigid, scleral-like lens design. And also for those patients that are just a little bit intimidated at first by using scleral lenses, these lenses really work out terrific for these patients. So there's different designs that are available that can be used here. Also just want to briefly mention prosthetic contact lenses that fall into the custom soft arena. These can be used for a number of different cases, and they can be used through at ABB Optical through an interesting combination of fitting process by using different lenses, combining the lenses all in one to be able to come up with what the tint would look like on the eye before it is actually ordered for the patient. Here's a patient just as a demonstration of leukocoria, that before and after is significantly different after this right eye of the patient was fit with the lens. And now it's kind of hard to tell if you didn't know that from a distance that this was happening at all. So in closing, what are the concise custom lens designs and parameters? Well, there's a ton of approvals that ABB Optical has in the soft lens area through the FDA. And those designs and approvals have turned into various different designs, whether they be the spherical designs, toric designs, whether the lenses are multifocals, both distance near and distance center, and then the toric combination. I'd like to mention that one of the unusual things about this design is that the back surface is generally a monocurve lens design, meaning it has one radius all the way from the center out to the periphery at about 0.5 millimeter. And so it doesn't truly have an optic zone on the back. It's really more of a monocurve with a landing zone area. And then for keratoconus, there is the custom soft keratoconus design, among others. This chart shows all the different products that are available. I'm not going to have you read this, and I'm sure not going to either, except to say that this just simply demonstrates the wide number of lenses that are available from ABB Optical in the concise custom category. So I think that wraps this part up for me. And I think in lieu of answering questions here right now, that possibly we should go right into our next presentation, which is from Jonathan Meadus.
Thanks, Craig. I appreciate you and Mark, and we couldn't have two better clinicians presenting for ABB Optical Group. So I want to thank you and thank all the participants. So I'm Jonathan Metis. I'm the manager of business development for our specialty lens division. Sorry. ABB's goal is to push forward together. And we kind of showed you a couple things that we're pushing forward with as far as our Concise Custom and our Altius. So I'll go over a couple high-level things for our specialty lens division on the next slide, which is the custom soft lenses that Craig covered. We have four materials. We have the methacrylicon A, we have the Benz polymacon 38, and then we also have the silicone hydrogel option. In addition to those, we also do gas permeable lenses. We've been doing it for over 50 years at this point. We have two labs. There's one in Alameda and one in Kansas City, Kansas. A thing that makes us very unique, kind of like what we're doing here tonight, is our educational platform. So we can help with staff training. We do specialty lens business reviews, consultation that kind of Craig talked about. We also have the ability to do a wet lab, which is an office fitting of scleral lenses. And we also do a thing called Lunch and Learns, and that's more product specific, but that's not really what we're talking about today. We're talking more about custom soft and Altius. Again, our designs are ortho K. We have our regular cornea, multifocal GPs, hybrid lenses, custom soft, and then we have some lens care options, and we'll talk about one of them kind of towards the end. That's a good opportunity for you guys. That's for gas permed and soft lenses. So here's what Craig was talking about. I know you've seen it already, but we redesigned this whole packaging. So much more appealing towards the patient. It was something that we worked very hard on and for a long period of time on. These are made to order designs. So everything is made in California. So an advantage for you guys is that it's 5 to 7 business days is our turnaround time. We also have a 120-day risk-free guarantee, basically. So your initial quote unquote lens would be warranted for 120 days. We also have our consultation team that you guys can lean on to kind of help you guys. And also we also have the calculator, which we'll show you another quick screenshot of that. So as Craig mentioned, so this is available on the ABB website, and you can input the information for the patient. If you're not comfortable with that, again, our consultation team is happy to help with any custom soft or gas perm need. We have 12 consultants that, and we'll show you Dee Dee, who we talked first. She's on the next slide. And so there's Dee Dee in the middle. So we have 12 consultants available for you guys. And again, our education is second to none. So we're here to help you in any way, shape, or form, whether it be staff or with fitting a product, whether it's any of those different products that we discussed. And then Altius, yep. So I know Mark went into good detail about Altius. This has been a product that's really, as it says, a game changer. It differentiates your practice. It's a product that the daily disposable modality of this product, like Mark said, with Nike Maxite was a 30-day thing. This is now a single-use lens, so they're just wearing it for that event. Typically with the Nike Maxite, you would have to do your event, find somewhere to wash your hands, take your lens out, put it in a case. This is something that you're just wearing for that sporting event that Mark kind of covered all those with us for us. So as Mark also mentioned, there's a bunch of different teams that are involved with, and these are just a few, just so you guys know. There's a lot more involved. There's a lot of colleges. There's a lot of high schools and, just recreational athletes that are using this product. And the interesting thing, and I know Mark touched on it, was, emmetropes, right? The Plano patient that's typically not buying anything from your practice. It's about 40% of our Altius sales are to patients that aren't buying anything typically from the practice, right? So if they're existing contact lens wearer, they're going to buy their existing contact lenses, and this would be something they would just use for the dent. So it increases margin, it increases revenue, and it really changes the game for the practice. The performance center that Mark was talking about, he went over the material, and right now it's Plano to -6. Amber and gray green are the lenses or the colors that are available. So this is the performance center, and this is what Mark was talking about. This is what gets you on the locator. There's a premier practice. All the product in this is revenue. There are no diagnostics for this product, but I can tell you that we're selling these multiple times a week, and people just kind of wanted this. And if you're involved in sports vision, then this is something you should definitely take advantage of. It also comes with some patient literature that you guys are able to display in your office. And then we also, what I was talking about was some retail and solution things where we also offer tangible. So tangible clean is good for GP or soft contact lenses. It's either a 3.4 ounce bottle or a 12 ounce bottle. It's something that's not available online. It's something that's only available through private eye care practitioners. And this is a good opportunity for you guys to have solutions in your office and be able to offer them to patients for either both products. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Dee Dee, are there any questions?
I do have a couple of questions. First, about the Altius lens, how does the Altius lens compare to the AccuView Transitions?
Yeah, it doesn't. So that lens, I think Mark answered that in the chat actually. So it doesn't transition. I'll let you answer, Mark, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of differences. It doesn't transition. It's that, the tint doesn't change. I gave you the transmissions on those two tints. And, probably the bigger difference is Altius is a single-use lens and Transitions is a reusable product. So, another question came up about using it in water. We know our patients are using it in water. I think it gives us the opportunity to have that discussion with them, that the most important thing is that this is a single-use product and it's used once, when it's worn underwater, whether it be in a pool, a sauna, the ocean, a lake, water skiing. It doesn't matter what the sport is. The only lens I'm comfortable with my patients wearing, whether it be a sports performance lens or a clear lens, is one that they can throw away after they've been underwater. So it's just safest contact lens that's out there. I mean, you use it while you're in the water and you get rid of it when you're out.
Yeah, and if you want to try it, you can just go to the chat function and there's the link right there to do the survey, and so you can try it for free.
Mark, the next question, is it recommended for kids?
I would say there's no reason to treat this lens any differently. If you have a patient that is young and you think is a good candidate for contact lenses, I wouldn't hesitate to fit them, with a product like this. It's not a myopia control lens. It's not the intention of it. If that's what the question is referring to. But yeah, if you have, we expect, the lens to kind of trickle down from the colleges to the high schools to the, the younger, athletes, whether it be soccer players, whatever, as they see, professionals wearing it and their heroes wearing it. We're expecting kids to come in asking for the lens, and certainly those that are trying to become more elite and improve their performance. We'd anticipate that there'll be younger and younger kids coming in asking for it.
And Craig, for you, one more question on the irregular cornea patient. How accurate is the calculator for that irregular cornea patient?
Dee Dee, that's an excellent question. And the answer to that is it isn't. It is that the calculator cannot take into consideration all the irregularities that are immeasurable on the irregular cornea. The calculator is truly designed for the normal shaped eye, without any irregularity whatsoever.
And that calculator is available for your normal toric patients and normal eye patients on the ABB website under practitioner resources. So I don't see any other questions. Anybody have any comments? Otherwise, I think we can close up for the evening.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thanks everybody for coming this evening. Thanks Craig and Mark and Dee Dee for everything. And we'll see you guys soon.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for
Thank
attending.
you so much, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.